I never talked to them boys that sat on them benches. I was in the game on
What is going on, Florida State family? Seminole Nation in the 863 tribe is your boy POLK, a.k.a. A-Lo, a.k.a. the Gat Damn Truth. Welcome to the Hangover. This is episode 73 of our regularly scheduled FSU programming. But this is why college football, in my opinion, is the greatest show on earth because it is as unpredictable of a sport. I'll be honest with you, it's so unpredictable. College football might be the only sport where the off season might be better than the actual season. And today, like a day like today, proves that. Now we talked about FSU's DB coach, new DB coach. Talked about him last night. We'll continue the discussion on Patrick Surtain. We talked about FSU's newest transfer portal commit, Gilbert Edmond. We got some new stuff to talk about in regards of FSU as a player that we've discussed multiple times on this show has finally hit the transfer portal out of that 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 loaded wide receiver room. But what I want to start this show off with, and I don't usually do this, but I feel like this is important. I feel like this is worth a discussion because this encapsulates so much more than just the University of Florida. But the Jaden Rashada fiasco is something that all you teams that are just trying to or want to sell this NIL vision, which I look, NIL is the new thing in college football and it ain't going anywhere. And I get it. And that's going to have to be a regular part of recruiting. But see, this is why, and I'm going to explain it in my opinion. This is why the transfer portal is way more valuable than people give it credit for. Because these high school recruits, they don't realize they're showing their hands. They're showing their cards. I'm gonna tell you this. Florida fans, even if he does enroll, Rashada is the perfect example of a player that hits the portal in a year or two anyway. But we're gonna discuss that, man, and much more in today's episode of The Hangover. You see the title. College football is one or on three of a kind. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get to what we came to talk about. But before we get started, as always, man, hit that like button. Subscribe if you are new around here. Share the video. Share the video. Um, Twitter has been weird today. So before every live stream, I post the link on Twitter. Um, but Twitter's been so weird today because it's like my I don't think my new tweets are showing up on people's feeds because like on my own feed, I'm seeing tweets from yesterday. I'm not seeing any tweets from like the last 5 minutes. I'm seeing tweets from 8 hours ago, 3 hours ago. So Twitter's being a little bit weird. So I think that's the reason for the low number in here tonight. But that's okay. I expect us people to get the notification and people to get informed that we are live over here. But like I say, man, let's pay these bills. And how do we pay these bills? Hit my like button, subscribe if you're new, share the video, and get in that comment section because we do a roll call around here before we get started on these topics. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Let's not waste any more time. Ronald Smith is in the building. Jeff in the building. EMG. Tyrone Oliver. Black Sheer Knoll Loading. Island Boy. Jen. Damien. Joe. Vontae. Antoine. Champ. Boxing Monster. Member 863 Tribe. Sorry about that, by the way. Vontae. Member 863 Tribe. Mark is member 863 Tribe. Pharrell. Perry. Sir 5 member 863 Tribe. Grope and Todd in the building. Like I said, hit that live button as you come on in. Small gathering here tonight. I expect the number to rise, but we will see. We will see. I do. So this is what we're gonna start with because I want to get this out of the way. But I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. If you're not aware, Jaden Rashada. Well, let me backtrack because there's a whole conversation to really be had here. It was reported by On3 that Jaden Rashada has asked for release from his letter of intent. That was reported, and Twitter went in meltdown mode. It's moments like these that make college football great and makes Twitter the best app on this planet. When one of the big three gets terrible news, that's the app you want to be on. I'm telling you this from experience. That is the app you want to be on. So, if you're not aware, it's reported by On3, Rashada not hits the portal, sorry. Rashada wants out of his letter of intent and plans to reopen his recruitment in a short amount of time, by the way. Or when is the actual national signing day? I'm not too sure, but the plan is to reopen his recruitment. Florida's own beat writers don't even know what's going on. So everybody's in meltdown mode. Everybody's in meltdown mode. About an hour after the initial report comes out, Rashada and his father respond, saying that is not true. Well, let me be completely accurate here. They actually never denied the report. At least from what I saw. They never denied the report. They asked, where did you get the information from? So the report was never necessarily denied, but it was insinuated that the report was false. Nobody in Florida still doesn't know what the heck's going on. There's two parts to this. First is On3. I got to address On3 because this is kind of what I do. It's unfortunate because if you notice, I haven't given a War Chant a hard time here in a while since the Marius Mims things. But a War Chant, unfortunately, is an affiliate of On3. On3 is starting to make a habit of either putting out premature information or just flat out lies. Now, I don't know which one this is. Usually when these situations happen, I always give the benefit of the doubt to the person actually reporting the information because I don't believe they get that information from, they don't pull it out of thin air. Somebody told them something that made them report this stuff. So the first issue is On3. They've had too many situations with this. To trying to become a reputable site, some people like them. To be honest with you, man, if you want to get accurate information in a timely manner, I'm not going to lie to you, 247 is the route you need to go to. Our guys at 247, they do a great job with accurate information. I have no qualms about their accuracy of their information. Now, I've gotten into it with a couple of their guys over there. Well, one specifically. But that's just on football talk, nothing personal. Just football conversation. But On3 is accurate. Now, excuse me. 247 is a very accurate source of information, in my opinion. They might, their sense of humor might be whatever it is. But the actual information, good stuff. But enough about that. Florida's in This goes to kind of the point I want to. When you're recruiting these high school kids, and if you really look at Florida State, and I don't know if Florida State did this by design or if this just kind of supports my argument by coincidence, but the last two recruiting cycles, no, they have not been great. But Florida State has done something very key in the last two recruiting cycles that you have to commend them for. They've established a core. They've established a core. And they focused on that core and have had little to no decommitments from said core. With the NIL era, more Jaden Rashadas are going to pop up. This is more to me a Jaden Rashada thing than a Florida thing. And we can make the Florida jokes and let them ride by all means. I'm not vouching for the University of Florida. But when I say that, what I mean is you have a guy in Rashada who had similar issues with Miami and their NIL. And I mean, I'm talking to Miami guys off the record, obviously. And nobody in Miami's class apparently even vibed with the Jaden Rashada. Whether that's true or not, or that's Miami guys just saying that because he flipped, whatever. But you get the same feel here with the Florida kids. Jaden Rashada has seemed to set himself apart in his whole recruiting cycle, apart from everybody, in this NIL sweepstakes. I would argue kids like that need to be, I hate to say it, but avoid it. Because those are the kids we're talking about a year from now that are in the transfer portal. The Rashadas, the Folks. I'm not demonizing them for handling their recruitment however they want to handle their recruitment. I mean, they're allowed to do that, right? I'm not. But if we're gonna keep saying that recruiting's a business and the NIL's a business and these players are being a lot more business like, well, that's fine. By all means, you should. But the school's got to be business like too. And if business like means we don't want to deal with the diva, we don't want to deal with this NIL sweepstakes, then the school shouldn't waste their time with it. Remember when we talked about Donta Moore this time last year or whatever it was, off season last year, how and a lot of people felt like it's a waste of time for FSU to really even go after Donta Moore. I see Timmy mentioned Donta Moore. It was a waste of time for Florida State to even go after him, whether you had Chris Parsons committed or not. No one ever felt like there was serious interest for Moore. He just wanted to be courted. And that's what a lot of these, unfortunately, that's what a lot of these young men, when you're playing the business game, again, I ain't against it, but the schools have to adjust accordingly, or you find yourself in a Florida situation where maybe they lied about some perks and some numbers to get a guy to flip who was obviously not really looking or caring where he played football at, was just looking for the bag. Because if he cared so much, why ain't he enrolled at the school yet? So they can come out and refute the actual being asked to be released, and it might or might not be the case. But it's obviously something's going on there. Something that people inside the university somehow don't even know about. Okay? So at the end of the day, here's the point I'm trying to get across, whether you agree or disagree. This is my point, my opinion, and my take on maybe my final take on the whole portal versus high school recruiting debate. Don't tell me portal's unsustainable when high school recruits, when Howard, 5-star quarterback out of LSU, freshman, just hit the portal today. When Amarius Mims hit the portal. Now he goes back to Georgia, but when Amarius Mims hit the portal after 1 year. And the list goes on. When multiple TAMU freshmen, 5 stars, hit the portal after 1 year. The 5-star offensive lineman out of Kentucky, portal 1 year. Don't tell me that high school is unsustainable, because I can make an argument, especially the way some of these teams and programs, everybody thinks it's cool to have the big NIL bag, but you're attracting a certain not caliber. You're attracting a certain type of player to your program with this NIL bag. When they don't get what they want, they'll be out. That's the trend going on right now. All these TAMU, and I just caution, watch how you approach this thing. You think you can buy all the players? Maybe in the past that worked because kids couldn't leave as easily. It doesn't work that way anymore. So I really just wanted to put that out there with the whole Jaden Rashada fiasco. This is only the tip of the iceberg. You're going to get a lot more situations like this going forward, of people getting promised things that don't come to fruition and wanting out. And all the people talking about recruiting and hyping recruiting. I'm looking at you, Dade County. Great high school recruiting class. Go 5-7 again, and convince me you hold on to all of that. Just recruit the right guys to your program. I think Florida State has done that. If there's one thing I can give them credit for in the high school ranks, I think they've targeted a core kids that they feel very comfortable with, and that they know want to be Seminoles. And then once they get those kids, you reach out to Sam McCall's and see if you can lure them in. Hey, Sam McCall obviously doesn't stick, but I mean, we have our own examples of one and dones. Sam McCall is one of them, right? A guy that you took a chance on, he really didn't want to be here because he wanted to come with someone else who apparently didn't come, but he stuck with his commitment. After 1 year, he's out. Sam won't be the other one, or the last one, excuse me. I don't know if I see that in this particular class. The lone 5-star we got, Hakeem, seems like he came to Florida State for the right reasons, and that he is, as he says himself, solid. But it wouldn't shock me if Hakeem hit the portal next year, knock on wood, but I'm not going to pretend like it's not a possibility. His recruitment didn't play out like that, though. So I'd be a little shocked, but it wouldn't surprise me not too much. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. So that's kind of what I wanted to get on as we address what is actually going on in all of college football. I felt like it was necessary to get that off, but I missed a couple of true super chats. So let me go hit these super chats up. First off is Boxing Monster with a $5 donation. It says you either ride with us or collide with us. Tupac, Omar Shakur, or Tatum Bethune. That's what he tweeted today. Shout out to Tatum Bethune. Shout out to you, Boxing Monster, with the don't know. Who you want? I'm going to give you Greg Jones. Jeff with a $10 don't know says, when it comes to the portal, this is how I look at it. It's sustainable. And this is how, if you have a top 10 recruiting class, you could pretty much fill in the rest of your team with the portal. That's all I've been asking for. I think a top 15 class makes the portal extremely sustainable. That's what I think. So FSU's got a little bit of work to do, but again, we keep talking about what's sustainable and what's not sustainable. Jaden Rashada don't look sustainable to me. Shout out to you, Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
Two-hour conversation. You guys are dedicated to the cause. I love it. No kid is getting those numbers are fake. These kids are not getting these numbers and that's the problem. That's the problem. In this right here, in lies the problem with what we're talking about. The notion that these kids really think you're not worth what a rookie quarterback's worth, bro. Like in the NFL, what do you think this is? And any businessman in their right mind ain't forking over that type of money. I don't care how many donations you got. But let's get to some Florida State news. Let's get to some Florida State news. Um, Malik McClain has hit the transfer portal. We kind of alluded to this multiple times as we have talked about people and the potential Florida State players um, hitting the portal. Malik McClain has decided to test his availability. Let's see who's interested him in the transfer portal. But does he end up back at Ole Miss? Arizona State is a team to watch out for Malik and Kenny. If I'm Kenny Dillingham, I'm probably looking to try to get Malik over there. I don't see why you wouldn't. So Arizona State could be the team. Arizona State could be the team to look out, in my opinion, with Malik. But in my opinion, we kind of talked about the three: Portier, Williamson, and Malik. And we talked about Portier. I think all that kind of got quieted down when he signed with Battle's End. It was pretty evident that out of those three, he was the priority, right? He was priority for those three. My opinion was Williamson would have been the odd man out. I believe Malik McClain has a higher ceiling than Williamson. I still believe Malik has that ceiling. It's just, looks like, and you kind of saw it even in the bowl game. And Williamson was hurt for a good part of the season, but when he's healthy, they seem to value him more than Malik. So Malik looks like he's the odd man out. And now that doesn't mean Williamson might. I mean, it would not shock me if at least one more receiver hit the portal. Wouldn't shock me at all. There's a lot of bodies in that room, and them freshmen are coming. I don't know how ready the freshmen will be, but the freshmen are coming, right? So the way I see it is simple. Shout out to Malik. I think it's a blow, but I don't think it's a huge blow personally. I think it's a guy that we would like to keep. But you can understand his decision. It's kind of similar to Trayshawn Ward, though he's not as productive as Trayshawn Ward, obviously. I think when I say similar, I think it's a player that guys liked, guys wanted to see do good and be great. And I think it's just a player that nobody wanted to see go, but I think people understand why he left or is leaving or looking to leave, should I say. So Malik McClain has decided to hit the portal. I think Arizona State should be on the lookout as a potential landing destination. Another potential spot that I don't think will happen, but if I'm Miami, I don't see how I don't give Malik McClain a call because he's better than anything you got on that roster right now. So if I'm Miami, a team that's desperate for receivers at this point, do not be surprised if they try to see what Malik is up to. So let's go to the comments and see what you guys are talking about. As far as the Malik McClain situation, or maybe we're still talking about Rashada. I don't know. I've seen the chat jumping, but I'm not reading them all the way. So let's see. Certain Senior finna lock up all these DBs. They got us. I did see that. There's a lot of DBs dropping their top 10s, and Florida State's in there. But you know the other team that's in there? That damn Colorado's in a lot of those top 10s too. So let's be on the lookout for that. Certain versus Prime. Let's see how those end up. What do you guys talk about with the sources? What's up, Sporadics? How you doing? Good to see you. He said, just with the announcement of hiring Pat, has these DBs in 24 class and guys talking about hitting the portal because of the hire. Timmy says, be for real. A QB wants more money than what is coaches making. Be for real. What are we talking about? Are y'all talking about? Are you talking about high school quarterback getting milked? Yeah. So on this one, let me read some of these. So make sure I understand where y'all coming from. You do realize that QBs in the pros been going to high school. Okay. There's some good points to be made by both parties here. I'll specifically go to this one as I address this. I do think believing that we're watching amateur football at this point, we do have to stop pretending otherwise. I do agree with Briley on this. However, and maybe I can explain this a little bit more. And I'm not saying Briley's going to listen or believe me, but in terms of that $13 million number, I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a lot of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons why I think these numbers are fabricated is because it's a recruiting pitch. And as we've seen, having a Gator source on ON3 means zero. These beat writers will do what they can do to help the recruiting effort as well. And if that means lie, they'll do it. Okay. Why do you think ON3, being one of the publications, since we're talking about them so much tonight, why do you think they're so firm in their stance that high school recruiting is superior to the portal? Not because of any really hardcore evidence, because the sample size isn't big enough to have any real evidence. Any scientist will tell you, what do you have? A control, 2 tests or whatever. We're not going to go into science class, but you guys know where I'm getting at, right? You need actual statistics and data to back up what you're trying to claim. Well, a 3-year span is something that's brand new. You cannot say just because Georgia does what they do. Georgia built that team prior to NIL becoming what it is. But whatever. The point I'm making is they make their money off of recruiting. So they have to pitch the narrative that recruiting is the way to go. I heard Newberg today say something that was just factually incorrect. I guess that's an oxymoron, but say something that was incorrect. He said all the best, none of the best players in the nation come from the portal. That's what he said. The Heisman Trophy winner came from the dang portal. Oh, and the guy that was trending before him came from the transfer portal until he got injured. That is vehemently wrong, what Newberg put out. That the best players in the country don't come from the portal. That's wrong. It's just wrong. I say all that to say, to get back to the kind of point that I'm really trying to get at. These numbers get fabricated to boost the recruit, and it gets fabricated by these websites to boost recruiting. So Jaden Rashada really thinks he's going to Florida and get 13 mil. If he was really getting 13 mil, he would have signed the dotted line already and be enrolled at the school, and he's not. Why? Because that money probably never existed. 13 mil was probably really like 6, 7, 800,000. With some incentives to make more doing certain. That's what this NIL stuff really is. Do you think these kids are cashing blank checks with zeros? Like you think you're being a little bit naive here. So that's my input on you guys' conversation. Anyway, let's continue. I can see Dix at the portal. That's another guy that I think we've all kind of thought about hitting the portal. Pretty Noble Girl says, who else can you see hitting the portal? Todd hit one. Diggs, I think maybe another receiver. We kind of talked about this before, but those Byron Turners, the guys that's been on this team for 2+ years, your Byron Turners, your Steven Dixes, your Thomas Schraders, your St. Herrings. The guys are that potentially getting passed up by younger players or incoming portal guys. Yeah, those are the names that I would be on the lookout for. Jeff with another $5 dono says, I don't blame Malik. I mean, the wide receiver group is deep, and he probably wants to be a main guy or at least get more touches. So I'm with you. I don't think you can blame Malik at all.
My name is Jeff.
Clickety clank, clickety clank. The money goes into my piggy bank.
Are these NIL contracts guaranteed? I don't see how they can be. That's the issue. So NIL's not linked technically. This is how you get away with it, right? The NIL, the what's the word that I just drew a blank? The NIL collectives or whatever. They're not technically linked to the university, so they can pay what they want. So, for instance, FSU, Battles End is doing what they're doing. FSU, the school, actually is paying nothing to these players. However you want to interpret all of that. But there's no way to guarantee. I won't say there's no way to guarantee, but I think it could. A guy's not going to sign with a collective at Michigan, then go to Ohio State and still collect that Michigan money. You know what I mean? I think sooner or later this NIL will have to be regulated. I don't think it ever gets regulated because I don't think the NCAA wants anything to do with it. If they did, NCAA would have vetted the process and instituted a bunch of regulations before implementing it. You know what the NCAA did? They said, well, just follow state laws. We don't want nothing to do with it. Once that court case was won and the law and the courts deemed this NIL stuff like legal, and NCAA couldn't fight the law anymore, they just said, let the state laws deal with these things. We don't want to have any part of it. Because how do you regulate it? How do you regulate it? Not coming directly at you, VJ, but anybody that thinks this stuff needs to be regulated, it's not that I don't disagree with you, but what do you do? I think people have no concept of how much $1 million is. UF isn't paying it. Understand that. That's why he's not enrolling. How is putting out the number helpful to recruiting when it looks like the biggest NIL mismanagement? But that's Florida's fault, or should I say that's Florida's collective's fault? I'm with you there. That leads to a bigger problem with the Florida collective in that instance, where you go, this looks like the biggest blunder in NIL history, in its short history. You're absolutely right. But that's Florida's fault for putting out fake information. Because again, it's obvious that the information ain't stacking up to Rashada and Rashada's family's expectations. But they're not the only ones. And I believe Addison, who went to USC from Pitt, there was reports in the middle of the year that he didn't get some of the stuff he promised when he moved all the way from Pitt to the other side of the country. This stuff is going to become more prevalent. I just don't think. Do I think these guys are getting paid? Absolutely. Do I think they're getting? Do I think any high school quarterback, I don't care if his name is Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers, Jaden Rashada, or whoever, is worth a $13 million? No. Because for every Quinn Ewers who looks like he probably would turn out to be the real deal as a number one overall prospect when he was in high school, for every Quinn Ewers, there's a Will Howard who's in the portal right now, who's a 5-star quarterback. There's a Malik Henry. You know what I mean? I don't think any smart businessman just invests that much into a high school kid. Just me, though. There was a stake. Yeah. Ain't no way in hell they getting bread like that in college sports. It's not that it's impossible. I just don't believe it's intelligent. I don't have an answer, Jeff, to be honest with you. That's what I'm saying. That's why I asked y'all. How do you I don't know how you regulate this stuff. I don't have an answer. Yeah, but he's also proven Heisman winner, right? And he's gonna make that next year in the draft. So that's you know what I mean. But Bryce and Stroud and these guys, sure. Jaden Rashada, and you can only say that about Bryce and Stroud and some of these guys because they've proven it on a collegiate scale. Freshman Jaden Rashada ain't worth 13 nothing. Ain't worth maybe 130,000, sure. But M's, nah. 13 million for what? What do you get back for giving? Exactly. That's my take on it too. We talking about investing in something. What is the return on 13 million for Jaden Rashada at Florida? You're paying 13 million. Rashada winning you a natty in his 3 or 4 years that he's there. I highly doubt it. Because it takes much more than that. And if you can pay him 13 mil, there's other recruiting classes after that. How much are you paying the next 5-star? If you're paying Rashada 13 mil, how much are they paying this 5-star in Lagway, DJ Lagway, whatever? What is he worth? 26 million? Because he's a 5-star and Rashada is not. You get how these numbers become to or get to become unbelievable. Because if Rashad is worth 13, what is DJ Lagway, who's Florida commit right now, 5-star for next year's class? What is he worth? Because I double, triple. Sporadic says, I've helped negotiate these NIL deals. Not one of them have been over 150K, and most of them are 300 to 5K. Burrell is another one. Yeah. Remember, he was at Ohio State for a year and transferred to Texas. Absolutely. That's why I said these things aren't. There's no way these deals are like binding in any way, shape, or form. Whatever Dillard's want to give them. What's up, Kenny? How you doing? Looking like Malik's hitting the portal. And again, we got a little bit off track but we are talking NIL. We're talking a lot of stuff tonight, not just specifically Florida State, because this is a big topic in college football. Rashada's recruitment process has opened. I don't know if it's really opened Pandora's box. It's just pulled the blinders back of what everybody knew was there. Everybody knew that ugly vase was in the corner, but they tried to hide it behind the blinds or behind the couch. And we just moved the couch and realized that ugly vase never went anywhere. That's what this is. It's just funny. And I'm about to say unfortunate, but it's actually not unfortunate. It's great. It's funny that Florida is the team that this has happened to first. But this was bound to happen to Florida, Texas, Bama, Georgia, whoever. A player was bound to commit somewhere for an exorbitant amount of money. And once him and family realized they weren't getting said money, want out and want to expose it. It just so happens that it happened to our great old rivals, the Gators. And I love it. But this is one of those things that could have happened to any school in this time and place and era. Jeff with another $10 dono. My man Jeff's always in the building showing love and support. Do you think like an NFL you need some type of salary cap in college for this NIL? Because you're going to have outrageous numbers. It's going to get like some of these schools can't afford. No. Again, once you start talking about salary caps, are we talking about how do you put a salary cap on something that technically doesn't belong to the school? How do you tell a collective of boosters and donations you can only raise X amount of dollars for that? You feel it? Like, I don't think you can regulate this thing. And I think the NCAA understood that, which is why they gave it over to the states. They gave it over to your state laws and said, good luck with it. Y'all will figure it out. I don't think a team will ever get burned for paying players again. That part of the NCAA sanctions and all of that doesn't exist anymore. because there's no way for the NCAA to accuse any school of paying X amount of playing for anything when the collective is the collective is the front man for everything. Schools don't have to be linked to anything now. That time of day in the college football is gone. The Reggie Bush fiasco, that stuff's gone. You'll never get a school pop for sanctions on like paying players ever again. Ever again. But appreciate that, Jeff, for the $10 donation again.
My name is Jeff.
I'm in Tallahassee, I'm with the Seminoles. I've been getting to this paper, focus on my goals. Trying to run this money up and pull up in a row. All this talking gangster, that shit getting old.
I heard DVD and a lot of coaches were interviewed for the DB. Yeah, they interviewed, which is good. They vetted the process. They did a good job with the DB hire, in my opinion. The DB coach hire. They did a good job. I heard the same thing, that they actually interviewed a lot of guys, had some candidates. I think we got a hell of a DB coach coming in here. Just imagine a kid like Malik Henry with this NIL carousel. Yikes, it would have been worse than what the situation already was. Polk, both schools opened up Pandora's box by trying to outbid and trying to show who. That's a little bit there. So there's some truth to what Anthony just said. Both Miami and Florida, they engaged in this year-long, for lack of a better term, dick measuring contest between Ruiz and the Gator Collective and who's doing NIL right. And, now to be fair, I think Miami won that with this fiasco that's going on. But at least in the short term, again, be careful, because the same thing can happen in Miami. The same thing can happen. It can happen to any school. What's up, Kenny? Hope you're doing well as well. Literally just personalize it. Allow the school to pay these kids. Put some regulations right. Once you start allowing the school to pay them, now you're telling me they become employees of the institution. That opens up a whole nother box. See, and that's where we truly lose the amateurism that we claim to love so much. Once the money actually starts coming out of the school's funds, and now they're employees of Florida State University? This becomes a whole nother bag of worms. You see what I'm saying? It will never be regulated to the way fans think it should or want it to be. It's the wild, wild west. I think you just got to get used to it. I think that's why he did the interview. I don't think he necessarily has a relationship, but I mean, you can come across in an interview, and I think him and Surtain might have clicked in that interview or whatever. Or, somebody may have vouched for him. I mean, Ron Dugan spent a lot of time coaching down there in South Florida as well. Maybe he has a relationship with Surtain, or maybe Randy Shannon has a relationship. You know what I mean? Sporadics with some breaking news. 4-star cornerback Aaron Butler decommits from USC. I think he has. I think FSU has a huge shot at him. No, I don't disagree. But you can still disguise that amateur hour. Once you become an employee of the school, then the amateur, even the facade of amateurism, dies in a burning blaze of glory. Once you do that. Brandy, how you doing? Update on Rashad. His father said if he doesn't enroll by Friday, see what I'm saying? And that's what I said earlier. They never denied that he was pulling out of his letter of intent. They never denied it. They only ever said, where'd you hear it from? Where'd you drop it from? I think that confirms it. Friday's tomorrow. If he doesn't enroll by Friday, he ain't going to UF. You would think at 9:20 Eastern time. I think they're from the West Coast, so it's a little bit earlier over there. You'd think they would know if they were enrolling in Gainesville tomorrow or not. I mean, it's an ugly situation, but this is what we were talking about. This is what we were talking about. But since we have talked, let's get into some of this more Patrick Surtain talk. They met at every coaching convention, Surtain and Norvell, and Norvell recruited his son when Norvell was at Memphis. Well, you knew he wasn't getting his son to Memphis, but I hear you on that. I do have a question for you, Sporadics, if you don't mind answering. This kid that just decommitted from USC, what's his name? Aaron Butler. Where's he from? Where's he go to high school at? That's my question. Springtime portal will be fun to watch, especially at the DB. Surtain gonna see how the DB room look. And Dartwood says facts. So I kind of really covered everything I wanted to cover today. So it's that time in the show where we leave the comment section open, which has kind of been open. So he's a California kid. I gotta go watch him. I'm not even gonna cap. California DB, not on my priority list. Yes, I am biased when it comes to where some of these guys are from when we talk about certain skill positions or just certain positions in general. A California DB, I'm in a state that's rich with them. Speaking of Florida, not the actual state I live in, but I gotta go watch them to be high on that. I'm not going to. We'll see anyway. We'll see. I'm just happy we had a national search and dug around and found our guy. Butler is from Calabasas. Polk, just FYI, is pronounced Surtain. Well, I've called him Surtain since I watched him play for the Dolphins. So if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, oh well. I think Surtain not only helps the DBs, but other positions too. Like I said, though, the comment section is open for any questions, comments, or concerns. Spirit says we haven't officially offered him. I believe we will. He's from Cali, though. Woodbay was a Cali DB. And it's honestly not just because of Woodbay, even though he kind of proves what I'm saying. Show me. I can't think of one. And I'm sure I might be but show me the DB from the West Coast that was like the guy. Name one for me, because I can't think of one. I can't remember one. That's just me, though. That's just me. K-Jax the Great says, damn, man, I felt like Malik was going to be something for us. Hey, you guys know I was a big Malik McClain fan, so I'm with you. But like I said, man, I get it. He said Corey Mack, yeah. But I get it. Like, I'm usually reserved with the freshmen. Especially at the wide receiver position. That's one of those positions where I think, but if Hakeem Williams is what we think he is, he probably, Malik McClain this past year gave you about 200 some odd yards. And matter of fact, I don't want to lie to you. I'm gonna look up Malik McClain's stats real quick, just because I don't want to lie. I don't want to tell you a lie. Malik Malik stats gave you 17 catches for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, again, as a freshman, he gave you 16 catches for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. Can Hakeem Williams give you at least that production? There's a big part of me that says, yeah, Hakeem can at least give you that. I wanted Malik to be great like anybody else, but you got to look at the writing on the wall, the realization of all of this. You got a 5-star kid who can probably give you that same level of production, if not more. if not more. Malik's got to go do his best for Malik. Malik's got to go do his best for Malik. Certain states seem to specialize. I know, absolutely. That is absolutely. If you want DBs, the Southeast is where you want to go. You know, I would argue if you want any skill position, the Southeast is where you want to go. You want like them trench guys, the big O linemen, the Midwest seems to be where you find them. Your twitchy edge rushers, probably back in the Southeast. You know, what would Cali be good for? Maybe Cali used to be a hotbed for quarterbacks. You want a quarterback, you went to Cali. But Georgia's even taken that, I think, from California in recent years. Top quarterbacks have been coming out of Georgia. But Cali still is a quarterback hotbed. Why you think we haven't went after the Godwin five? Something to do with that, because it doesn't seem like a lot of teams have gone after Godwin. So it might be some more stuff to that we don't know about. Surtain's the biggest hire since Mike Norvell. If we're not talking head coaches, obviously, Surtain's the biggest hire in my. Okay, so obviously we're not talking like Willie Taggart or Mike Norvell. Surtain's the biggest hire since Kendall Briles for me, because I was huge on the Kendall Briles hire. Loved everything about it. Thought Willie was going to let Kendall Briles call the shots on offense. And on paper, Kendall Briles should have worked. But there was more to it than that. I would say the biggest hire since Kendall Briles. I'm okay with juniors and seniors leaving to go get playing time, but freshmen and sophomores that are playing like McClain, that transfer bothers me. Well, I mean, McClain was going into his junior year, so I mean, he was technically a junior at this point. He gave you 2 years. He was going into his junior year. And in the 2 years he played, he gave you a little over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in 2 years. Most freshmen do that. They can do that in their first year. Most legit big-time freshmen can at least do that in their first big year. So, yes, I would have loved to keep McClain, but I don't think – I mean, we're not even mentioning like Vontae here. We're not even mentioning Winston Wright. Ja'Kai Douglas, who was hurt majority of this year. I mean, there's plenty of options at that receiver position that I'm honestly just not worried about. Anything I'm excited this coming season, I think we have real close finishing on our roster. I think we might need a safety to feel real good about our team. So Louisville's got one of the – let's see how he develops, though. California's the hotbed for punks. Like, I see a lot of you guys couldn't name many California DBs, so my point seems to stand on that. I think that's a good move for him, for both Tennessee and Thornton. I agree with you. I think he is going to kill it at Tennessee. Adam Fuller's still the best hire. I think Briles was calling the shots. Jordan would have, obviously, because when Willie got fired, we saw Jordan the next day. Again, I think Briles was the biggest hire we had at the time. I think Surtain's the biggest hire since Kendall Briles. Kendall Briles should have worked. Can't convince me otherwise. Kendall Briles should have worked. There's just a lot of other things that was going on. I mean, I didn't know we were going that far back, Jeff. I didn't know we were going that far back. I thought we were talking in recent years. Atkins, is that a good point? Atkins. Oh, I was kind of not trying to include the people that came with Mike, because I say, but Atkins, fine. I love Malik, but do we think that his transfer impact the win? No, not at all. That's the thing, right? Is Malik McClain impacting your win total? That's how you justify might be the wrong word, but that's how you That's how you measure these guys who transfer in and out of your program. I would say FSU's done a good job at the guys that have left this program, and no offense to any of them, but do they move the win total up or down? Trayshawn Ward is the biggest loss in the portal by far. I can see Trayshawn Ward if you don't. So with Trayshawn Ward, you're hoping that the guy's already on the roster. You're hoping Rodney Hill is the real deal. Or you're hoping Keziah Holmes fills in that role. But like Trayshawn Ward could legitimately impact your win total. Or unless Benson improves his overall game. Unless Benson improves his overall game. Trayshawn Ward could put it to you like this. Do we beat Oklahoma without Trayshawn Ward? Right? So that Trayshawn Ward might be the only player, and that's a lot of things around that with the guys. So a lot of unknowns. Trayshawn Ward could impact your win total. He's probably the only transfer that we lost that I'd say impacts your win total. You're counting on Trey Benson improving as an all-around back. You're counting on someone else. You're counting on maybe Toafili improving as an all-around. You're counting on somebody in that running back room to fulfill what you're losing in him. And there's a question there. But Malik McClain, again, him, Rod Orr. I mean, we'll go down the list of guys that has hit the portal. None of those guys impact the win total. None of those guys. FSU basketball is not losing. As long as it doesn't reverse the football team winning, I have no problem with it. We would have landed Sam Howell. I don't think our program gets as bad as we did. That's if we would have kept that dude, Walt Bell. I heard we might get a running back out of the portal to fill Ward hole, but it's least likely. Yeah, I would say that's something that would happen after spring. They're going to let those running backs compete, is what I believe. You're going to give them that spring to compete. And once you go the whole spring, and if nobody emerges in that role, then you might look at the portal. I wouldn't say they do it right now. There's no need to rush to that. You got plenty of bodies there. Let them battle it out. Let them figure it out. Sure. So does Deuce Spann, though. So does Deuce Spann 6'4". Portier 6'4". Williamson 6'3". Hakeem's coming in at 6'3". His body type is, they got him. No, again, no knock on McClain at all. We got a handful of guys on the team that can give you, again, 17 catches of 206 yards and 3 touchdowns, I think. If Ward had that breakaway speed, he would have gotten his running back. Yeah. So, as we talk about the portal and who's affecting win totals, and I know we're talking about Malik, and I know we like Malik, but I think you got to look at it from, we've talked about this before. This is just what college football is now. The good teams, the healthy teams, you're going to lose 10 to 12 guys, I think, a year out of the portal. You're going to cut weight, dead weight, trim fat. I mean, for lack of better terms, and it's not to disrespect any of these guys that's being let go or being encouraged to move on, but the healthy teams are doing that. You have to do that. Because before, I spoke on this before you ate those scholarships, before when you took a Jordan Eubanks because maybe you saw something, Before, when you took a Jordan Eubanks and you find out that this guy actually can't play here, you were stuck with him. You were stuck with him. Now, not so much. Now, not so much. And it's good for, I think, both for the player and the school. Good night. Because not only is Jordan Eubanks getting, he's getting asked to move along, but there's a bunch of kids at UNLV, because I think that's where he ended up, that were hitting the portal too. So there was room for Jordan Eubanks to go find another place to play football. Whereas before, he might have to go to JUCO level and never be heard from again. Everybody talks about how bad this is for the high school players, and there's some truth to that, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. Besides safety, you think we need another defensive tackle? I think we need another D tackle. No. I don't. You landed Fisk, you landed Jackson, and Lovett comes back. Briggs, I think, makes the permanent move back to the interior. That's your 4 to start the season. Joshua Farmer's coming. Malcolm Ray is a steady rotation guy. I'm kind of convinced Malcolm Ray might be hit his peak. Daniel Lyons, a guy that they were very high on last year. Well, he's going to be a year stronger and bigger. It's time to start playing some of these young guys. Thank you, VJ. It's just the facts. We've named them already. You guys know who's on the verge of being left off this team. Like, we don't need to act surprised. If we want to compete with the team that just put up 65 in a national championship game, if that's who we want to compete with, dare I say, you can't have, and I won't say any names, but you can't have certain caliber of players that we've had. I'll say a name that's already left. You can't have George Wilson on your roster. You can't have, maybe Rod Orr on your roster. If your goal is to get to that level, you have to cut bait with them. Bring in, it is what it is. You lose George Wilson, who's a project, 6'4", 215-pound defensive end. That's what you let go. And brought in 6'5", 250-pound guy out of South Carolina in Edmond. We see the difference there? You know what I'm saying? Like, we see the difference. You let Jarrett Jackson go. He hits the portal, the defensive tackle. And you bring in 6'5", 300-pound Brandon Fisk. I mean, you got to see what's going on, right? Am I sad? I'm disappointed, but I understand it. If the DB room turn around next season and the all-around defense makes a huge step forward, I mean, Surtain, if that DB room looks vastly different than what we've seen, Surtain, whatever, he'll get the credit. He'll get the credit. If the defense as a whole is great, Fuller will get the credit. More than one guy can get the credit. I think Fuller and Randy Shannon get the credit for this defense this year. Top 15, right? I think both are smart. This is my first about hearing Clemson trying to get Farmer, though. I didn't know that was a thing. Dabo usually doesn't dabble in the transfer portal. So that's kind of interesting. But Pat's from Miami. If Miami would, I no longer. When it first came out that teams were tampering, I thought, man, this is terrible. And then you realize it is what it is. And now you realize if a team isn't tampering, they're not trying. Miami should be trying to get a guy like Patrick Payton. Because I will ask you a question, Timmy. I know you're not a Miami fan, but name me a Miami pass rusher? Does Miami have any good defensive ends? I don't know. They ain't got nobody like Pat Payton. Pat Payton goes there. He's the starter from day one. Clemson trying to get Farmer. I know they recruit the defensive tackle room pretty well, but all their best guys are going to the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. Would make sense for them to want a guy. So none of that surprises me. None of that surprises me. If you're a team that's trying to be competitive, you should be trying to tamper. I think you'll still see the transfer player rock. I think you'll still see the transfer player, but I think that project has less time to project. That project could get a year to figure it out. That project will get a year to get his weight right, to get his nutrition right, to hit that gym as hard as he can. And then that next year, he's going to be asked to show some type of production. And if he's not, he's out the door. I think project players will still be taken because some of the best things a coach can do is scout and find players that not everybody's looking for. Everybody wants the 5-star. That guy's got 30 offers. He can go to any school in the country. Some of the best players you can find are the guys that not everybody's looking for. So teams will still try to scout, find the gem, the diamond in the rough, so to speak. The problem is that diamond it ain't got a long time before it needs to be polished and put on the shelf. And if it's not, they're going to call it cubic zirconian. They're going to do the diamond tester, call it fake, and throw it away. So I think the projects have less time to project now. And what I think what the major colleges are starting to understand, or major universities, is we don't have to develop you anymore. I can let UTEP develop you, buyers, and then I bring you on. I can let Western Michigan develop you, and then once it's time for you to try to hit the pros, come show your talent on the big stage and help us win football games. I can let South Carolina develop half of my team. I mean, Miami and Clemson were both trying to get Farmer, so that let you know the potential of that kid. So imagine if AO shows going to be more than a couple of teams after him. There's no such thing as tampering anymore. It's just the way it is. I agree, man. It's just the way it is. I said we got about 10 more minutes. I like to keep these at an hour and 30 at the most. So get your questions off or comments in these next 10 minutes before we close it out. Just want to let you guys know. And by the way, hit the like button if you're still in here kicking it with us. Like, comment, subscribe, share. That's what we do. 20, we needed the guys that ready to start the rebuild. Straight workers. 21, we still needed more workers, projects, and some talent and leaders. Go look at 20 and 21. A lot of them guys ain't here anymore. They just filled the role until we were able to get better. Remember, in 20, FSU went full freshman mode. Remember, 20 had Marvin Wilson and Tamarion Terry on those teams, and Mike Norvell decided pretty early, pretty much after the Georgia Tech debacle, he decided to throw his chips. He decided to throw it all away. And we had Steven Dix starting, and Ja'Kai Douglas played, and Jay-Sean Corbin, who was going to play anyway, but they went youth mode in 20. They pretty much they used the COVID season to kind of see what they had. And it wasn't pretty, but that's what they did. 21, they wanted to have a mix of the youth that they had saw and tried to develop in the 20 season and get you a Keir Thomas and a Jermaine Johnson. That's why they brought in, I think, a Mackenzie Milton. They brought in a Andrew Parchment, some veteran type players, grad transfer type players. They brought those guys in to lead while also bringing in the Jamie Robinsons and some of these other guys with multiple years, but they brought those guys in here to fill that role while still playing extremely young players. 20 was rough. 21 starts off rough, but those players started growing up. And this year, those players were major contributors. Kalen DeLoach, best linebackers you had, right? Did you pair him with another experienced backer? You get one of the better linebacker tandems. All of a sudden, Briggs and Lovett's a major factor. And, you start talking about some of those guys who were super young in 20. Now they're team leaders in 22. Remember, Lovett's playing behind Marvin Wilson and these guys. He wasn't a leader on the 20 team. Was probably just coming into his own on the 21 team. All of a sudden, this year, forced to be reckoned with. We criticize it. I criticize it. I hated the process. I'm not even going to pretend and lie to you. Hated the process to this. But they seems like they had a plan. Norvell and company knew what they wanted, knew what they were doing. And yeah, we took our bumps and our bruises. Some of us hated it, cried about it, complained about it, whatever you want to say. I'm not going to pretend like I wasn't one of them. I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I was not happy and that I cried through the process. But here we are on the other side of it, it looks like. And all those players, Ronaldo Green is one of them, like VJ mentions. All those guys in 20 who were terrible, but they were young, freshmen, didn't all of a sudden in 22, they're your best players on your team. Jordan Travis being one of them. Trayshawn Ward's on the 20 team. Terrio Wilson's on the 20 team. Robert Scott's been the starter since he's got on campus. Darius Washington's another one. Like, Maurice Smith's another one. Everyone that says Florida State's built from the portal. Bro, some of Florida State's best players are homegrown guys. Your Maurice Smith, homegrown guy. Robert Scott, been the starter since he's a freshman. Jordan Travis, at this point, are we really counting Jordan Travis as a transfer guy? How did he get developed at all at Louisville for the year he was there? Come on, that's a Florida State development all the way. Is Fabian Lovett? He's been here 3 years. Well, he's going in. Is this really a transfer guy, or is Fabian Lovett a Florida State development? Like, everybody wants to talk about the portal, and how Florida State's built through the portal. Bro, these guys have been here for 3 years and have been developed by us. Jermaine and Keir, those are the guys you can say, okay, they weren't developed. But Jamie, come on, man. I mean, look at Pat Payton. What about Kalen DeLoach? He wasn't no transfer. Ronaldo Green wasn't no transfer. Akeem Dent ain't no transfer. Terrio Wilson wasn't no transfer. Cam McDonald wasn't no transfer. Trayshawn Ward wasn't no transfer. Lawrence Toafili ain't no transfer. I mean, we can just keep doing this. Don't believe the narrative, man, that gets put out there about this portal thing. Don't believe it. Till Dog with a $2 sorry says development matters. Of course it matters. Absolutely it matters.
Clickety clank, clickety clank. The money goes into my piggy bank.
Swamp is Marcus and Douglas. You guys can name some more guys too. Kentron Portier. These are all homegrown guys, bro. And even some of these guys that were from the portal, they've been here. How can you give the credit to the prior school? How does Mississippi State get any credit for Fabian Lovett? Really? Again, how does Louisville get any credit for Jordan Travis? I just answer the questions that I'm asking, that's all. If you want to give UCF credit for Tatum Bethune, okay, I'm not going to argue guys like that. I'm not going to argue Tatum Bethune. I probably would argue Johnny Wilson, though, because he couldn't do nothing at Arizona State. He came here and quadrupled his production? We want to talk about Adam Fuller and the DBs. I mean, we giving South Carolina credit for Jamie. I don't know the answer to some of these, bro. But we got to stop believing the narrative and believing what rival fans say and all that cap about we built through the portal. This is a talent acquisition business. It doesn't matter where you acquire the talent from. It depends on how you develop it. Every guy we named been at FSU for longer than a day. Longer than a year, longer than 2 years in most of these occasions. They're Florida State developed players, man. Pretty much. Akeem Dent finally started getting utilized correctly in this regime, like you're saying. I have a question. What do you think this year goes if Kenny doesn't leave Oregon and stays calling plays here? I know it's a wild question. It is a wild question. Here's my issue. I think we struck gold in tow cars. I think we'll see. Because Kenny did a great job with Bo Nix at Oregon, but that's the Pac-12. And quarterbacks can put up stupid, these conferences matter when we start talking about play. And that same Bo Nix was at Auburn, and he didn't look like that. And he had the same coach in Kenny Dillingham at Auburn, and he didn't look like he looked at Oregon. That conferences matter, especially when we talk about quarterback play. I don't know if Kenny Dillingham's still the lead on the quarterback coaching. I want to see what he does at Arizona State, but again, it's still the Pac-12. I don't believe Travis takes the leap he took this year. I got nothing against Kenny, man. I think Kenny's a funny guy, a bright young mind in football. I think Tony might just be better at the position of development. We'll see, though. We'll see. If anything, Jordan Travis and Fabian and some of these other guys prove that you can build through. No, absolutely prove. That's the whole point. Look, the only reason I was against the portal's first inception, wasn't a fan of it because you can't build a team off of Jermaine. As much as you love Jermaine, you can't build a team off of Jermaine and Keir Thomas. We addressed this at the time. Little did we know the portal would turn into what it became. I never foresaw, and I don't think anyone ever foresaw the transfer portal morphing into something where freshmen were hitting the portal year one. That's something you don't prepare for. You can build a team out of that. You can build a team out of guys 2-3 years of eligibility. A one-stop gap. No, you're right. You can't build anything off of a one-stop gap. But that's not what's in the portal anymore. That's actually the minority. The minority of players with 1 year in the portal is, said that wrong. But you get what I'm trying to say. One year guys in the portal is actually the minority. Majority of these guys have multiple years of eligibility to give a school. What do you mean you can't build off of that? That's exactly what the high school, we'll take credit for my year. Yeah, we'll take credit for Jarian. played good at the end of the year. We'll take credit for that. I hope so. I mean, I'll take the credit, but if I'm being honest with you, I've kind of addressed this. Benson is just a healthy Benson probably does the same thing at Oregon, if we're being honest. He just wasn't healthy at Oregon. Benson didn't just come to Florida State and get big, fast, and strong. He always was that. It's just me, though. I think certain positions, running back being the main one, that's a talent. That's a talent. That is a athlete-driven position. Good athletes are going to go good at that position. I don't know if you, again, said this before. You don't need to teach Adrian Peterson anything. He just is Adrian Peterson. I don't need to teach Barry Sanders anything. He's just Barry Sanders. He's just Eric Dickerson. He's just Reggie Bush. And the list, he's just Derrick Henry. All 6'4", 250. You know what I mean? Like, you're just that. I don't know how much development goes into the running back position. You just are what you are. Treshaun Ward is actually small and all those other things, but he just has a natural elite vision that I don't think you don't teach Treshaun Ward that. I think he's born with that. He's born with that running style. Just what he is, who he is. Other teams saying this like they don't wish they could address needs immediately like we can. They can. They just gotta do it. Look at how Tate looked in Louisville. I agree. Yeah, and Tate Rodemaker looked, and Kenny Dillingham had 2 years to teach Tate Rodemaker, and we Tony got less than a year with Tate, and he looked way better. I think no knock on Kenny, but I think we made the right move there by letting Kenny go and promoting Tony Tokars. After next season, we'll finish in the top 10, if not top 5 high school class. I think so. Hope so. Right. You don't teach Ricky Williams anything. He's just Ricky Williams. So there's that. That's that. And we'll finish off with these last two. Do FSU get the credit for Trey Ward? Yeah, you get the credit for Treshaun Ward was a walk-on here. We brought him up, gave him a scholarship. Absolutely, you get credit for Treshaun Ward. Wherever he goes, sure, you got to give. I'm not saying you got to. He's going to Kansas State. I'll just ask you, John. Are we going to say that Kansas State is responsible for Treshaun Ward, whatever kind of year he has next year? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But at the same token, Treshaun Ward is Treshaun Ward. He's probably going to do that wherever he goes. And I would guess in the Big 12 he puts up good numbers. Not a lot of good defenses over there. And we'll finish with Tyler. He says, let's be real too. Very, very few players are 5-year contributors. That's been my point from the jump. What's the difference between getting Johnny Wilson or Jarrett Verse for 2 years when, let's be real, Pat Payton, I'll just use Pat Payton as the example. Redshirt's his freshman year, so you get nothing out of him. I don't even think Pat paid him 4 games his redshirt year, but even if he did, wasn't a big contributor. So you really get nothing out of the redshirt year. Burst on the scene as a redshirt freshman, has good production, but not great, but he has the type of production where you expect big things this upcoming year. Let's say Pat Payton goes for 8-9 sacks this year. With the projection, there's a good chance Pat goes to the NFL, and you only got 2 years of playing time out of him. What's the difference of getting 2 years of playing time out of Tatum Bethune? What's the difference? What's the difference? If Pat Payton takes the leap we all want and think he can, Pat's gone, bro. Pat's 6'5" with bend. Coming off that edge with a crazy first step. If Pat takes the leap we think he can and add some strength to that frame and can add a bull rush to his finesse moves, Pat Payton is gone. Newsflash. Patrick Payton's gone, and you only got 2 years out of him. That's no different than what you're going to get out of Tatum Bethune. 2 years. That's no different than what you're about to get out of Jarrett Verse. 2 years. All portal guys. Micah Pittman, 2 years. Johnny Wilson, 2 years. Johnny Wilson might stay all 3, but He flirted with the NFL this offseason. Trey Benson's definitely going to the NFL after this season. 2 years from all of those guys. What is the difference? And Pat Payton was recruited 4-star at Florida State. Stop telling me that you have to build high school players, that you can't get anything out of the portal. It's false. It's vehemently false. Because if Pat Payton doesn't take that step that we want him to take to where he's draft eligible, you're going to be looking to replace him in the portal anyway next year because maybe he regret. But with that, we're done here tonight, guys. Another great show. Glad everybody who came in here tuned in. We continue to debunk this high school recruiting and portal debate. We continue to debunk it by these type of conversations. There's nothing we're saying is false. But as always, man, hit that like button on the way out. If you didn't hit it on the way in, comment, subscribe if you're new and just joining us for the first time. If you're just joining us for the first time, as you see, I pride myself in this stuff, but this is the most interactive Florida State YouTube channel. I don't know about anybody else. Can't speak for anybody else. I would even argue this might be the most interactive college football YouTube channel. But then again, I don't watch everybody like that. I have no idea what Nebraska YouTubers are doing, so I could be wrong. But this is one of, if not the most interactive YouTube channel on all of YouTube. It's not just about sitting here listening to me blindly talk about whatever I want to talk about, even though I do that sometimes. I get y'all involved. I love the back and forth, the comments. And sometimes we even get heated over here in the comment section, but that's okay because that's what we're here for. At the end of the day, we're just passionate Florida State fans over here. So if you're new around here and this is you and you like this format, you like this vibe, you like this setting, please subscribe, please return, and please don't hesitate to join the chat. Your opinion will not be frowned upon. I mean, if you say something too stupid, I will call you stupid. No disrespect. Or at least I'll definitely call the comment stupid. I mean, yeah. Be intelligent, but your opinion is valued over here. But yeah, man, as always, hit the like button and stay classy, Seminoles. This Saturday, y'all already know, we'll be back on this thing again to talk some more football. And let's see, what is today? Wednesday. We still got Thursday and Friday. Anything can happen between now and Saturday, as you see in college football. So stay classy. And we are out here. Go Noles. And I'll see you Saturday.